is still undefeated.
Are you sure about that?
Have you ever noticed just how universally appealing robots are? Like seriously, I don't know a single person that doesn't appreciate the idea of a mechanical misanthrope or awesome automaton, at least in a fictional sense. And to be honest, it's not hard to see why. They are super malleable. We can project whatever ideas, feelings and messages onto them, and most of the time, it will work. They can be cute, funny, scare the ever-loving piss out of us, make us question our morality and what makes us human, or on a more simple note, they can do each other in like it ain't no thing. Which brings us to the topic of this here video, real sin. Okay, that was way too dramatic for this channel. Real Steel is a sci-fi sports film released in 2011 directed by Shawn Levy of Night at the Museum, and more recently Deadpool and Wolverine fame. It's a film that sets out to entertain audiences with remote-controlled robot-on-robot action. In my opinion, overwhelmingly succeeding in that goal. Obviously because the aforementioned action is freaking lit. I mean, come on, look at what I'm showing on screen. But also because that's only scratching the surface. Packaged within is a genuinely well executed redemption story about a father reconnecting with his estranged son through the art of robot fighting. Despite being an action film about cold, emotionless boxing robots, the movie's core is warm and wholesome. I mean, sure, it's not the most amazing and original blockbuster out there. I mean, hell, peak is being a bit generous, I'll be honest, but to be fair, it rolls off the tongue a lot better than Real Steel is still peak. Well, kind of. I mean, it's not the best movie out there or anything, but it's still pretty good. And here's why. Regardless, for what it is, I'd say it's definitely worth revisiting over a decade later. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the 3 main reasons why this movie still slaps to this day. The narrative, the visual style, and obviously the main course of big robots punching each other, and how it plays off of the former 2 aspects. So without further ado, let's get right into it. The film follows Charlie Kenton, played by Hugh Jackman, a professional boxer turned professional robot boxer with a bit of a douche streak, stemming from his crude overconfidence and gambler tendencies. This is established within the first 10 minutes where Charlie makes an all-or-nothing bet which he promptly loses due to his obnoxious showboating, leaving the man even further in debt with no robot to make the money back. What makes matters worse is the fact that Charlie maintains this brash attitude whilst having people in his life that depend on him both financially and emotionally. One of these people being Bailey, played by Evangeline Lilly, a boxing gym owner who is constantly at risk of having to sell the place due to lack of income, something Charlie is supposed to be providing, but because of his all-or-nothing, go-with-the-flow attitude, he can't provide jack. Of course, the other person depending on him is none other than his ill-begotten son Max, played by Dakota Goyo. After his mother dies, naturally the role of legal guardian falls upon Charlie. In yet another display of selfishness, Charlie convinces Max's grandparents to literally buy him for $50,000. As you'd expect, Max is none too happy when he finds out about this.
You sold me?
Sounds worse than it is.
This scene in particular serves as the first meeting of the 2 stars, highlighting the grievance and animosity between them, not just with their exchange of words, but also with awesome cinematography. Their conversation is shown through over-the-shoulder shots, as you'd expect, but it's almost western in its execution. Max and Charlie are positioned far away from the camera, with their full body in view, emphasising the distance between them both in a literal sense, as well as their current opinion of each other as of this scene. Furthermore, do you notice the difference between the 2 shots? Well, when Charlie's in focus, some of the frame is taken by Max's head, but vice versa, the leftmost part of the frame is dominated by Hugh Jackman's arse. An arse carrying the money he got from Max's grandparents after selling him, so to speak. The visuals alone firmly establish the power dynamic between these 2 characters. Max's living situation is entirely at the mercy of Charlie, and because of what the film has built him up to be like up until this point, we know that sucks major ass for Max. Despite how rough a situation is to begin with, ironically enough, they actually have a lot in common. Max shares Charlie's overconfidence and brash nature, though unlike Charlie, he channels it into something good. Where Charlie blows his $50,000 on a half-assed black market bot which gets destroyed instantly, Max pours all his energy into Atom, a long-forgotten robot the 2 of them found in a junkyard. Max is insistent on Atom's potential to a stubborn extent, begging Charlie to book him a fight, and even taking similar all or nothing bets as Charlie did at the start of the film. The difference between them is their attitude towards the machines. Charlie treats them as disposable tools while Max treasures and takes care of them, with Max clearly having the superior attitude when he starts getting W's left, right and centre. It's through Atom that the two's relationship starts to improve. Charlie slowly but surely regains his love of boxing, and Max slowly gains love and admiration for his father, which all culminates in the final scene of the film, which, trust me, we'll touch on later. I don't think this movie would have worked nearly as well without the dynamic between father and son. Call it rote and generic, heck, to a certain extent I'd agree, but that doesn't change the fact that it's well executed and flawlessly acted. It's a crowd-pleasing feel-good narrative, which is pretty much Shawn Levy's specialty at this point. A very touching one that adds significant emotional depth to what is on the surface a dumb robot slapfest. Now, I would be remiss to move on without mentioning the visual style of Real Steel, one of the film's most defining features. The very idea of life-sized remote-controlled robot boxing is obviously futuristic, even by today's standards. However, despite this, the film feels very familiar, if that makes any sense. Like it could take place in the current day, despite the technology on display. Speaking more literally, the film is set in the year 2020, roughly a decade into the future from when it was released, so I suppose it's not too surprising. Little did the cinema goers of 2011 know that instead of punchy robots, we got a deadly pandemic instead. We really are living in the worst timeline, huh? Anyway, this whole feeling of familiarity despite the sci-fi premise is 100% intentional. Shawn Levy and crew combined futuristic ideas and current day locations in order to create what Levy dubs a retro-forward sci-fi setting.
This idea of opening the movie with this small town fair was key to the kind of retro future meshing that we wanted.
This isn't the first movie to pursue this kind of Americana aesthetic, but Real Steel deserves all the credit in the world for making it believable, and maintaining that believability throughout the whole running time. This is achieved thanks to the incredible amount of detail in each scene.
And again, the level of detail in the design. Look at the labels on this shipping crate. It's this futuristic robot shipping crate where literally these are handmade, hand-painted, or, computer printed but then hand-textured labels, customs labels from all over the world.
I already played a clip of the director's commentary highlighting the set design of the gym, but it's in this same scene where we see Noisy Boy's interface boot up with a HP logo. Something most people would miss, including myself on my first watch, but it just goes to show the attention to detail that went into the production of the film, and that's far from the only example. Sure, Levy didn't exactly predict the 2020s with 100% accuracy, but little details like this alongside futuristic props that somehow don't feel out of place goes a long way in immersing the audience without them even realising it. What really completes the immersion factor of the visuals is how well the robots complement them. And with that, it's about time we segued into the real reason why people sought out this film in the first place. While Hugh and Dakota are why people stay, the robots are undeniably why most come. The marketing behind the movie and the multimedia properties are all caked with their mechanical mugs. Something kids especially are going to be absolutely down for, so yeah, they're the one thing Shawn Levy and his team could not fuck up, and given the nature of this video and the fact that it made like gangbusters at the box office, I think it's safe to say they nailed these guys with flying colours. They designed about 20 or so different robots for the movie, and the ones we do see are easily distinct from each other and iconic in their own right. Some of them look sleek, sexy and refined like Noisy Boy and Twin Cities, while others look like they came out of the Poundland bin, like Midas and Metro. Not only does this give character to the machines, but it also emphasises their background and point of origin, especially for Atom. This works wonders as the movie goes on, with Atom facing increasingly more refined opponents, hammering home the sense of progression the audience feels, which only makes our desire to root for the underdog protagonists that much stronger. Our support for these characters feels 100% authentic given the time we've spent with Atom, Charlie and Max at the absolute bottom. Atom's many cracks and scars serving as a constant reminder of where we started all the way to the finale of the film. It also helps that they don't feel like lumps of CG plastic whenever they're on screen. Despite being emotionless puppets, they effortlessly ooze soul and personality thanks to the god tier sound design. We can hear the hydraulics of each bot every time they move, which ends up being the primary way these guys emote, more than making up for the lack of dialogue and facial expressions. Just compare Atom with Metro, the very first opponent he faces one-on-one in the ring. Both of these bots come from rough and tumble backgrounds, but Atom's softer, easy on the ear hydraulics are in direct contrast with the squeaky grunts of protest Metro makes of each movement. Again, despite Atom's origin, he feels more looked after and well maintained compared to Metro, who looks to have been cobbled together with bits and bobs some bloke found at the tip. The sound design only gets better when the actual fighting starts. Each impact is felt tenfold, and despite it being metal clashing against metal, it never gets grating in the slightest. There's a lot of oomph behind every hit, and because of Atom's nature as more of a punching bag, the anticipation is genuinely thrilling as each bout builds to the moment when Atom finally lands a hit of his own on the opponent. It's this kind of detail combined with every other aspect that really brings these emotionless puppets to life. Speaking of bringing robots to life, I could go on and on glazing the visual and audio design of these badass bots, but at the end of the day, the movie is going to make or break based on how well these guys move. If they don't look or feel believable, the audience's immersion is going to crumble like wet tissue paper. Not to worry though, they nailed that too. What did you expect? Instead of solely relying on CGI, Real Steel consistently switches from real practical robots and props to CG, and a lot of the time it's really hard to tell the difference. Now, okay, let's be real here, it's obvious that when the robots are actually fighting, it's CGI, and when they're walking to the ring, it's practical. But the transition from one to the other is damn near seamless. I think it works in large part due to how closely the practical and CG rendered models look alike. Major kudos to both departments in this movie, especially for keeping their size and height relatively intact as to never take the audience out of the experience. The reason the CG spectacle feels real is thanks to the motion capture. Every fight in the movie was choreographed and acted out with mocap performers. This makes the main selling point more believable, not only for the audience, but the people in the movie too. The extras on set are actually reacting to a fight they can see, so the energy of the crowd is 100% authentic, which in turn benefits us the viewer, further immersing us in this sweet, juicy action. Everything I've talked about thus far culminates into the epic finale of the film. With Charlie and Max's help, Atom makes a name for himself in the world of robot boxing, to the point where he eventually lands a match against Zeus, the big boy, the top dog. The Apollo Creed to Atom's Rocky. Yeah, if it wasn't obvious enough, this movie is in large part Rocky but with robots. I mean, there's even a Rocky style montage halfway through the movie. This analogous comparison is typified by Atom's rivalry with Zeus. The two couldn't be more different, which is especially apparent by their appearance. The sleek and corporate Zeus is quite literally larger than life, towering over Atom's junkyard build. This mirrored contrast extends to the humans as well, with Zeus's operator Takmashido not even bothering to control him, letting his team do all the work as he sits on the stands above us all. In direct contrast to Charlie, who is almost literally right in the action. Both sides are experts in the sport of boxing, but it feels like they're operating in two entirely different worlds, strengthening the already high stakes, something you'd ideally want for the grand finale, so that's never a bad sign. Much to the audience's pleasure, the final fight lives up to expectations. Atom expectedly gets the crap beat out of him for an entire round until Max urges Charlie to start shadowboxing, a feature of the Atom unit that allows the robot to mimic Charlie's movements. Through this technique, he starts to get the upper hand on Zeus, landing one of the best sounding uppercuts I've heard in a movie, period. The incredible cinematography of Real Steel is once again highlighted here as the camera refuses to stop moving as soon as the bell dings. The energy is non-stop right until the climax where we hit the emotional peak of the film. While Atom is pummeling Zeus, we get a close-up shot of Max who turns his attention away from the robot to his father. The footage slows down, all the surrounding ambience fades into white noise, and we get this touching moment of Max finally acknowledging Charlie, who's now fully engaged with the sport. Fully invested in Atom and his potential. Through Atom, Charlie and Max are finally connected with one another, solidifying Charlie's redemption arc. And I mean, it's just chef's kiss. It's cinema. Okay? It's a powerful moment and a brilliant way to bring the film to a close. Sure, Zeus may have won the fight, but Atom has won our hearts. Man, that sounds corny as hell. Real Steel is not a revolutionary, groundbreaking movie by any means, but man is it damn good at achieving what it sets out to do. Making the audience lose themselves in a robot boxing spectacle, whilst offering a warm emotional centre through Charlie and Max's relationship. With that being said, that's about all I have to say for this video. Like if you liked, dislike if you disliked, subscribe for more quality content, and I'll see you guys next time.
Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried. Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.